Located in historic New Bern, North Carolina is TyronPalace. Here you can go back and learn what it's like to have lived in the 18th and 19th century. What makes it such a unique place to me, and one that I would even put above Williamsburg, is the fact that there's so much there. Not only do you have TyronPalace and the 7 major buildings, the 14 gardens, the technology-driven museum, which is perfect for this day and age generation of kids who everything has to be done by technology. They don't understand how much fun you can have with just your hands and a book. So you have all of these things, but I think what really makes it unique is the history behind it. Built in 1770 to be the royal governor's home by Royal Governor William Tryon. It was designed by architect John Hawkes. From 1770 to 1775, it would remain the royal governor home until the Patriots would take over it in the American Revolution. From 1794, after the capital of North Carolina moved from New Bern to Raleigh, it would hold several different things: a boarding school, a private boarding house, a Masonic lodge. So it would hold different things. In 1798, though, the main home would burn down. Well, fast forward to the 18th century, and the kitchen offices were completely demolished to make way for progress. So you had roads being put in, you had new homes being put in. Fast forward a little more to the 1930s, and a Mrs. George Latham is up in New York exploring the New York Historical Society, because William Tryon had actually been relocated there in 1771, and she would find the original 1770s blueprints for the home. So she would bring them back, and she would issue a challenge to the state of North Carolina to reclaim the land and then to rebuild TyronPalace. So in the late 1940s, the North Carolina Congress actually approved it. The governor set up a TyronPalace commission, which to this day is still a governor-appointed position, where they have an important say on all preservation and restoration work and anything that goes on at TyronPalace in those terms. And then by the early 1950s, TyronPalace would reopen. Now, Mrs. George Latham herself did not actually get to see the home being rebuilt or redone. She would actually pass away. However, her money is what actually paid for it. So understanding that knowledge and that history makes you understand why it's such a unique experience, because as of the late 18th century, the stable offices were the only thing essentially still standing, and even then they weren't in their original condition. Well, fast forward to 2010, and the Pepsi Family Center opens at TyronPalace. Now this is where the technology comes in. This is where the children who come on field trips really get their hands-on experience, because everything is technology driven. They can sit there and play at computers that are these big widescreen monitors on the floor or on pedestals, and they can actually participate in building ships or making quilts or writing papers, and then learning how to set up a printing press to actually make the newspapers of that time. So you've got all this hands-on information. They have 14 gardens, and they are not the original gardens because nobody knows what the original plans were for that. But then you have all these museums and all these different living historians who are there working the property, telling not only the story of the royal governors and their families, but of slaves, of freedmen of New Bern, North Carolina. Included in the price of admission, at least on one of the higher end ones, is a location called New Bern Academy Museum, which is located down just about 2 or 3 blocks away. But it's got all these beautiful historic churches located all around it, which actually and I did mention this in my first video, actually made me think of Dr. Schultz and how he loves to do all of his videos at these historic churches. So just a little tidbit, Dr. Schultz, if you've never been to New Bern, there's some really cool churches there I think you would enjoy. But New Bern Academy Museum was the very first North Carolina state-sponsored school. not only that, but it served as a hospital during the Civil War, and I have personal ties to that as well. So thank you again, and I appreciate it.